KBLA Talk 1580 throughout the day, and our host will tell you when to dial in and when. It's our way of showing appreciation to you for helping make KBLA Talk 1580 the most trusted, credible, and reliable source of information for listeners just like you. Here's hoping you'll be one of our lucky winners. But you can always head over to the KBLA.store anytime for the best in KBLA Talk 1580 gear for yourself and great gift ideas. Now, celebrating 2 years of being your go-to, we're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
So many things I'm going through, so much that I want to do. It's starting to become so clear to me. Tomorrow ain't really guaranteed. So many days
it is starting to feel like summer. Little A-Marie is always good for the soul. You are checking out hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Just a reminder, we are live in the chat on YouTube. So if you are around, hop in the chat. The chat is always entertaining. Let me know your comments, what you are thinking. You can also hit us up on social media, KBLA 1580, everywhere. Leave comments there. You can head to the website and download the app. If you're a little shy and you don't want to share your thoughts out loud with everyone, you can leave a message for any show, not just mine, and they will get that. And, you can get a little interpersonal relationship going on through the app. And make sure you're following me everywhere at Stiletto Jill. So, hour 2 is here, and we were talking earlier about trending topics. We're going to continue along those lines, and there's a story that I thought was really, really interesting that has come up. So what would you do if you were cleaning out a family member's house and you came across 1 million, not $1 million worth, but literally 1 million pennies? So 1 million 1 cent pieces. So cash wise, that's about $10,000, right? But this family in particular, their father was from Germany. He moved here, I guess, during the 40s, right after World War II. So in his mind, when the pennies were changed over from copper to the new metal, he wanted to save them. He still had a hoarder mentality, so his family says. So he hoarded all these pennies from over the years. Well, here's the thing about pennies and that metal change. 1 penny, I think it was maybe in 2012, a 1943 issued penny, sold for $1 million. Collectors will go in for these rare coins. But the problem with that is that you have to go through the coins to find that rare one. So what I want to know for our second hour, good question of the day, is would you sift through 1 million pennies with the, not promise, but the potential to find a coin that could be worth millions? Well, that's what this family has been faced with. And I'm going to tell you their decision, but I would like to hear if you have any commentary on what you would do. Now, for this family, their choice was, I don't have time for all of that. They decided to hit up OfferUp, and they put the whole lot of pennies on there for $25,000. Now, as I said, 1 million pennies is $10,000, but their reasoning is that extra $15,000 investment could be worth millions. So they got to try that and check that out. So, Andy, would you sift through pennies, or would you just put it out there and say whatever happens, happens?
For me, whatever happens, happens.
Whatever happens. But would you sell them, or would you just go to the bank? Would you try and get more than what they're worth, or just cash them out at the bank and move around?
I'm going to the coin machine at Food for Less, and I'm probably gonna hit multiple. I'll probably do like because I already know. I mean, if you're gonna count 1,000 pennies, I don't even know if they would even give you $1,000 at the register. So I don't know. I'm probably just have to spread it out.
Yeah, I don't think that I'm counting through 1,000. I don't think that I'm like realistically counting through probably 500 pennies. I don't have that kind of time. I don't have that kind of effort. But, funny enough, when I was a little kid, that was exciting to me. I had my piggy bank. Do kids even have piggy banks even more? Probably not. That, teaches you a lot of values, teaches you to save. But I would collect my coins, and then I would go and sit in front of the TV. My parents would bring me home the little paper wrappers from the bank, and I would stack up my money and put it to the side, so excited that I had saved a couple of dollars for myself and we could take it to the bank. Sometimes I would be too impatient to wait for my parents, and I would just take the coin rolls out when I rolled out. But that's me. Anyway, back to our other trending topics. Pennies. I don't know. I think about, and why I'm going back to this, there's a reason. Rock with me for a second. We're new. We're getting to know each other. You have to understand, sometimes we all have little idiosyncrasies, and this might be one of mine, circling back. So this is the thing about a penny. They're dirty and they have a smell. So the thought of a million of those just sitting there, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about how, can you imagine whatever drawer, cabinet, sack that all of those pennies were layered in, what that probably smelled like? I don't think pennies can mildew, but the smell was probably crazy. I bet the room was ridiculous. Anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Just my little random thoughts. So there was a story that was floating around social media about rapper Q-Tip, from a tribe called Quest. So Q-Tip, who is still single, by the way, was, for whatever reason, reminiscing. He was drifting on a memory, going back to his high school days. We all like to do that every once in a while. Think about all the fun we had, those friends, kind of wonder, I wonder what happened to that person. I wonder what they're doing now. So Q-Tip has at his disposal millions and millions of followers. So what he decided to do was to take to social media and put it out there to see if anyone could find his former high school boo. Right? So that's all fine and well. Like I told you, somebody managed to find her because, internet detectives work hard. They work harder almost than the FBI, because they can find somebody, they can find everything about them, tell you what they've been doing for the last 5 years and why you should or should not like them. It's up to you whether you take that recommendation from them. But anyway, they found her. Not sure if they linked up, but what I want to know from you is, when we come forward, we'll get more into this, but just kind of setting it up. Would you want an ex looking for you on social media, shouting you out? Like, not just, hey, I'm going to put their name in the chat and see if it comes up. Like, putting it out there like, hey, world, do your thing, do your magic. Find my favorite person. We're going to look at both sides of the issue, why it could be fun, why it could be crazy when we come forward. We're also going to talk a little bit about, I mentioned earlier, there was a huge trade that happened earlier between the Boston Celtics and the Washington Wizards. So, tomorrow's the NBA draft. So there are implications all around with that taking place. So we're going to talk a bit about that. We're also going to talk about Michael Jordan's sell of the Charlotte Hornets and how big of a gain he netted for himself, and really quickly, take a look at his business prowess. Okay, I'm tripping over words a little bit as it comes to owning a sports team, because we know Jordan's the GOAT as far as basketball, for some, the GOAT of his era. We can debate that another time. We know that business-wise, what he did with Nike transformed the industry, but he hasn't kind of had that much success in the same form or fashion as far as being an NBA team owner. So we're going to talk about that. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe. Hit me up on the socials at KBLA 1580 if you have any thoughts to share, and we'll get more into those topics when we come forward.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
This is Tyrone, celebrating the 75th anniversary of Black Radio and June as Black Music Month. Brought to you by Procter & Gamble.
It's your thing. Do what you wanna do.
Oh yeah, one of the most enduring musical groups ever, the Isley Brothers. Their hits began in 1959, and they've had new hits on the Billboard charts for 5 consecutive decades.
I try to play my music, they say my music's too loud. I try talking about it, I got to be run around. And when I roll with the punches, I got knocked on the ground by
Procter & Gamble proudly celebrates the 75th anniversary of Black Radio and June as Black Music Month. Let's widen all views to the resilience, joy, beauty, and vastness of the Black experience. Learn more at pg.com/widen the screen.
Are you looking to steer your career in a new direction? Driving for Culver City Bus can be your ticket to a long-lasting career with excellent benefits and paid training. Culver City Bus is looking for customer service and safety-minded bus operators to join the growing team. Culver City Bus offers on-the-job training starting at $19.10 per hour, uniform allowance, and health benefits. Culver City Bus is a great employer. Let Culver City Bus connect you with an essential service job. If you enjoy driving, seek real opportunities for career advancement, and passionate about making a difference in the community, you are invited to join the Culver City Bus team. Start your journey today by submitting an application at culvercity.org/job. For more info, visit culvercitybus.com or call live customer service operators at 310-253-6500.
Leroy, 71's backed up. What's your 20? Over.
Olivia needs more drivers for her trucking company to go the extra
We've
mile.
got 3 more stops to make.
She wants to hitch a team to drive business forward.
Lots of double nickels on the 169. You know what I'm over? This driver shortage.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Hey. Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, you are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe right here live on KBLA Talk 1580. Now listen, one of the things that I like about this experience is that you guys can actually call in and talk to me. So if you are so inclined, hit me up at 800-920-1580. That is 800-920-1580. I would love to talk to you. Share your thoughts with me if you have any thoughts about anything that we've discussed tonight, you know. Boxing, little TV shows, any of that stuff. And we're also going to talk about, as I teased before we came forward, about your ex looking for you on social media. Now, like I said, we all have those relationships, situations, connections where maybe you lose touch, you moved on, you had a relationship that didn't allow for outside friendships and connections. So, you know, time passes and you start drifting on a memory, like the real Roxanne did in her song with Full Force back in the day. Anyway, you start thinking about your old friends, your old connections. So with social media, we really don't have to wonder too much anymore. You can pretty much, within about a 10-minute time span, find whoever you're looking for. And, you know, especially if they have Instagram or Facebook, you can catch up really quickly. You can see what their kids look like, how their mom is doing, if they're married, you know, where they're at in life. So Tip realized that and thought about it, and he shouted out his ex. So what I want to know is, do you think that that is appropriate behavior? Because it's been like 30 years. We don't know why he was looking for her. Like I said, Tip is single. He said he really vibed with her. He talked about what their first date was when they were both freshmen. So it might have just been curiosity, but what if she's married? Like, would that be a problem? Andy, would that be a problem for you if your significant other was shouted out on social media by like a famous rapper or someone like that? Like, I'm looking for him.
I would feel some kind of way, but I can't knock Q-Tip for, you know, maybe just having a moment of where he was reminiscing about, you know, his high school sweetheart. Well, I don't even know if that was a sweetheart, but just somebody that he had dated at one time.
If someone was looking for you, if they went into detail about, you know, what happened in high school, not anything inappropriate or bad, just looking for you, would you care? Would you reach out?
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem. I mean, you're reaching out for something. I mean, and if I'm already taken, if I'm married, then that's just something I would share with my significant other. I'd be like, yo, one of my old friends from high school apparently was reaching out, but this is what it is. Nothing's going on. Don't worry about it. You can meet her if you want. So I don't think it's inappropriate. No.
I got that. What I do find interesting, though, is that we've never heard anything about her. I believe her name was Pamela Smart. Mm-hmm. We've never heard anything about her. She's never been looking for him. She's never put it out on her social media because, like I said, the internet detectives, they are swift, and they found her. There's nothing about, A Tribe Called Quest, back in the day, or anything like that. She just rolled on with her life. So I did find that kind of interesting. Maybe Tip liked her way more than she liked him. But anyway, maybe they'll catch up, have their friendship, go have coffee, and things will be good. So let's get into some sports. There's a lot happening. As we said, the NBA draft is tomorrow. We know Victor. I'm going to jack Victor's last name up. So I'm just going to say Victor W. We know that pretty
Go
much.
ahead and try it.
I'm going to try it later. I'm going to try it a little later because I respect that man's name, and what I am about to do to it, it's not good. Not good. Victor
When?
Yeah, we're going to move around. We're going to move around. We are going to leave it there. Just know that he's probably going first tomorrow in the draft. He's likely going to end up with the San Antonio Spurs. And so if you don't know anything about Victor, Victor is like 7 feet, 7'2". He is a freak of an athletic freak of nature. His athleticism is off the charts. They have been following his story and waiting for him to become available for a while now, and coincidentally, when those balls bounced around, we're not implying that the NBA is fixed. We're not implying that at all. But just coincidentally, it was the Spurs that got the top. Let me slow down. I guess I'm a little excited. Might need a sip of water. But anyway, the Spurs got the top pick in the draft. Now, the reason why that is significant is that Victor grew up idolizing Tony Parker, who is also French, who also played for the Spurs. If you're familiar with basketball, you know the Spurs are a consistent team with Greg Popovich as the coach, although he is coming into the twilight of his career. But they have been known for taking foreign-born players that were legitimate stars in Europe and other places, and bringing them into the NBA system and doing it effectively, which resulted in titles, and they're sort of an under-the-radar team. This is the home of David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, as Charles Barkley likes to say, and others. We know Kawhi Leonard played there early in his career before he went to Toronto and got that ring. He got a ring with the Spurs too. So, what they lay down, we've talked about as of late, if you're watching the NBA playoffs, the Miami Heat way, the Miami Heat culture, how it establishes certain things as far as your work ethic and expectations, and how they take care of their players and develop them. So the San Antonio Spurs are another franchise that follows that path. But like I said, it is kind of curious that they ended up with this player, because realistically speaking, for his development, for him to make the adjustment to not just the NBA, but to America, there's really no better team for him to be in the NBA, unless your team was one of the ones that could have gotten the balls to bounce that way. Then I'm sure you feel differently. But anyway, the draft is happening tomorrow, and there are a flurry of trades that are going down to get us ready for it, because teams are trying to clear cap space. They're trying to move into position to better themselves, because if you think about the playoffs this year, especially if we're talking about the West, it was so tight coming down to the wire. We know that the Lakers in the Western Conference and the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference were the first two teams to advance out of the play-in tournament into the playoffs, and the Lakers went all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Shout out to them. We know that it wasn't the outcome we wanted, but it also was not the outcome most were expecting at the top of the season. So that looks like success to me. Rob Pelinka just has to get to work in the offseason, but that's just my thoughts on that. Anyway, let's talk about these trades. So the Grizzlies have acquired Marcus Smart in a trade with the Celtics that involves Kristaps Porzingis. Now, initially, this was a 3-team trade that was said to involve the Clippers, and it had parts going in different areas, but it fell apart at the last minute. So if there are any sports fans that are in the chat, or call me up, because I love to talk sports, and I'm sure you'd be surprised at my knowledge, and I'd love to test yours. 800-920-1580. What do we think is going to be the outcome of Porzingis in Boston? Because obviously the star has sort of faded on him. When he first came into Dallas, we had high expectations. Dallas is another city that obviously had significant international players. That's where Dirk Nowitzki was, the big German, and he obviously left an incredible landmark there. We know Luka is there now. They imagine the pairing between Luka and Kristaps to be like next level, like their own little version of the Spurs, taking that sort of Texas. Well, we can't include Houston in that because Houston hasn't won anything significant since the 90s. So we'll just talk about the Spurs and the Mavs, who have both won within the last 20 years. So we'll give them that. But that was the expectation. Didn't turn out as such, and he's been on the move. Didn't really make too much noise in the Washington. Washington is obviously in rebuild mode. They traded Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns, so now they have moved this piece. So we're going to see if they're going all in on youth. I see Tony Yayo in the chat. He said, Porzingis, listen, it's one of those nights. Bear with me. You guys know where my heart is, right? Right. Okay. So he had a solid season last year. Shot blocking presence. He can shoot the three. He can, but there are others that do that as well. Like, maybe the person that didn't get the MVP, but has a finals ring right now. And, we could talk about that. We could talk about what Joel Embiid did. I mean, those are just a couple of players that are leagues better at this point. Again, it might just be fit. He may just have not found his fit. He also is dealing with a bunch of injuries. He's coming off injury that kind of slowed his game down. But as far as him being in Boston, does it look like Boston is kind of rebuilding as well? Because obviously we didn't expect them to go home this year, and they did. And it's 2 years in a row, disappointing seasons. Although, and this is aside, I think that Boston's collapse in the playoffs actually had a lot to do with coaching. I think that Joe was outcoached, and there are questions about Ime Udoka and how they handled that. He is in Houston now with a young team that I think he is going to pull together, and they're going to do some nice things in the West. Maybe not playoffs yet, but they're going to be around. They're going to make some noise. So Tony Yayo is saying that Houston would have won in 2018 if CP3's hammy held up. That has been the story for a lot of teams that CP3 has been on. And that's no shade. Well, it's a little shade. But I love CP3. That is my Taurus brother. But the Clippers were so close. It was the Clippers and Golden State. People often forget that. The rivalry was from north to south was the Clippers and Golden State. And then there was a bunch of injuries. We know in Houston, it was almost there. And we've seen in Phoenix the last couple of seasons that the end of the season has gone as Chris Paul's health has gone. So we'll have to see what all of these teams do tomorrow in the draft. But I'm excited. I hope the Lakers make some moves to get some youthful talent in so that we can expand our bench. But more importantly, we need to re-sign Reeves, and I think Rui is locked in, and find a replacement for D'Angelo. But that's another story for another day. So we are still on our sports beat, still talking sports. Michael Jordan, some people's GOAT, not necessarily mine, but the GOAT of an era. And he made some big moves last week. He has sold his portion of the Charlotte Hornets. I always want to run it back to Bobcats because that was the OG, even though I've always hated the Charlotte Bobcats name. Respect to Bob Johnson, because if I could get an NBA team and name it after myself a little bit, I would have done the same. However, it throws me off because, they were actually the team that moved from New Orleans and the New Orleans Hornets and all of that stuff. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Jordan has come up. He has come up immensely with the sale of the Charlotte Hornets. But what I really want to talk about, besides the money, because like I said, we know that Jordan, as far as business goes, is impeccable. He single-handedly helped create Nike's sneaker business to the pinnacle that they are today. Obviously, he makes a great deal of money every year from Jordan Brand and those sales. He gets about 5% on top of just a regular fee, and that was included based off of a conversation his mother had with, I believe, Sonny Vaccaro, and Phil Knight had to throw it in there. If you've seen the movie Air, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman's in it, Chris Tucker, Marlon Wayans Jr., they tell that story. It's a really compelling story, and really it's about Jordan, but it's really about his mother, Dolores, and how she helped negotiate one of the biggest sneaker deals in history. So check that out. That's just a side. But billionaire Jordan, he's come up. He is going to get, once the sale is approved, 11 times what he invested in the Charlotte Hornets in 2010. So 13 years, 11 times that. The team is selling for $3 billion. And Jordan is still going to retain a small piece of ownership of it. But let's look at Jordan's time as owner of the Bobcats. Has he drafted anyone of significance? Not really. I mean, we've had some decent picks. We've had some picks where we've had high expectations, but nothing's really come of it. I bring this up because, as I've said several times, tomorrow's the NBA draft. And who do you think is making the pick for the Charlotte Hornets, even though he's selling the team? Michael Jordan. So kind of think about it. Hit me up on the phone lines when we come back, 800, when we come forward, 800-920-1580, and share your thoughts. If you think that Jordan is the best person to make the picks for the Charlotte Hornets tomorrow, and if you think that obviously Jordan is still a success, but does it kind of cast a little shade on him because his reputation, his record as an owner is subpar? We're going to talk about all that when we come forward. And next up is news and sports. KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Julius White. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Search efforts for the missing vessel used to explore the Titanic are intensifying. Retired Navy submarine Captain Brad McDonald says the less than 24 hours of oxygen remaining is not the issue.
It's more like this vessel is flooded and it's full of water, and that's the problem.
Crews have been searching for the submersible with 5 people on board since it was reported as overdue on Sunday. On Capitol Hill, the House is readying to vote to censure California Congressman Adam Schiff for his role in investigations of alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. Last week, 20 Republicans voted with Democrats to block the move, objecting to language that could have resulted in a $16 million fine for Schiff. The provision was removed and has now gained full GOP support. I'm Julius White on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
Are you a small or micro business owner looking for ways to succeed after the pandemic? LA County has got you covered. Gain access to economic opportunity grants and technical assistance to help your business thrive. Whether you need mentorship or capital investment programs, they're here to help. Find out if you qualify at recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. That's recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. LA County and you, moving forward together.
Hey LA, keep your utility bills low this summer while making your home the cool place to be. LADWP can help you save hundreds with air conditioner and thermostat rebates, plus free energy efficient home upgrades and simple tips to help you beat the heat and save money. Visit ladwp.com/cool-LA.
If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that's between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. Eligibility criteria apply and funding is limited. For more information, visit COVIDPaidSick.com. If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that has between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. For more information, visit COVIDPaidSick.com.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, and downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Andy is going after my heart tonight. I feel it. Come on, New Edition. Come on, Bobby. Come on, A. Marie. You've been lighting it up for me tonight. You gotta vibe a little bit. This really does sound like summer. Now that I think about it, it really does. Summer in a hot, sweaty room, of course, from the video with Brooke Payne yelling at you to get that perfect two-step together. You know, we need that. We need a little bit more A&R and artist development happening with some of our acts because stage presence is lacking. Just my opinion. You are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe here live on KBLA Talk 1580. Of course, we were having a bit of a sports conversation. The YouTube chat is lit. In there, they are discussing whether or not Doc Rivers should have been fired for Philadelphia. So my opinion was asked. My opinion is, yeah, it was time for Doc to go. Not because he's not a great coach. I mean, Doc does what he does, but I think that there always comes a point with teams, with players sometimes when you might need a new voice, where you have sort of worn out your welcome or the tricks that you use to motivate them, or that extra little push that you could get from that one player. Those things burn out, and sometimes we need to change it up. T. Swarns, okay, don't play them boys. What boys? Who are you talking about? Who are you shouting out? What I suggest is you can always express yourself on the phone lines, but we don't have to talk about that if you're shy. There is also the KBLA app where you can leave a message. I suggest you go ahead and download that, because you not only can leave a message for me, you can leave a message for any of the hosts and any show, and I'm sure they would love to hear it as much as I would. Anyway, back on point about these trades and Jordan tomorrow. So before that, I'm sorry, I didn't finish up my thoughts on Doc Rivers. So Doc Rivers, I think that it's probably time for him to go someplace else. I think that he took Philly as far as he could. You know, we went through the process with Doc. Joel finally came to be the player that we expected him to be, but we also have to consider that Philly has had to deal with a lot. They've had to deal with James Harden, who showed up immensely during the playoffs and in moments when Embiid was hurt. So you kind of wonder. He talked about it a little bit. He talked about the fact that people will say, oh, he's a ball hog or he's shooting too much and all of those different problems that they have with his game. But then when he held back, when he pulled back, people were like, does Harden still have it? Does he still got it? And then he showed that he got it. And they're like, well, where has it been? So I think sometimes we as fans got to make up our mind what we want from our teams. I saw Kamal say in the chat that we should not I should not call a team that I love, the Lakers, my team, or say us or we. And ordinarily, I agree with you with that, but I have been rocking with the Lakers since I was a kid. I have suffered through bad seasons. I have suffered through good seasons. I went out to the parade amongst the crowd and stood. That's big for me because I'm not really trying to do all of that. But I wanted to see, Kobe and wait, was it the Kobe? I actually don't think it was the Kobe and Shaq one. I don't think it was during that title run. And I think that is why I went when it was Kobe, Paul, and after they beat the Celtics, because I felt bad that I didn't go to any of the parades and they looked lit. I mean, we obviously want to hear Shaq rapping and all of that. So, I think that it is time for Doc to go. Well, it was time for him to go. He's going to get another job. I mean, he's Doc Rivers after all. He's been living off of those rings in Boston. Well, that ring, I should say, in Boston for quite some time now. I'm not trying to imply that Doc isn't a great coach. He obviously was here in LA for a very long time. And like I said, some things just don't always come together for teams, and we got to move on from it. So I think that is an okay thing to move on from it. I saw that someone mentioned in the chat Scoot Henderson. They said that Jordan should draft Scoot Henderson. Where do you guys think that Scoot should end up? I'm actually going to be running an interview with him on tomorrow's show. I talked to him. He starred in Shooting Stars, the movie that is based on LeBron James and his high school teammates. So we talked a little bit about his favorites and that conversation. We'll have that tomorrow. But, the thing that is funny about Scoot is that in some ways, even though he's been in the G League, he's on people's radars, because of all the hype with Victor, he's kind of been allowed to develop in a different sort of way. I feel like there might be a little weenie chip on his shoulder, even though he knows he's that guy. It just so happens that the year that he's coming out in, there is such a big presence, not LeBron-like presence, but certainly people are excited to see Victor play. So I'm excited about what happens in the draft tomorrow, seeing what magic can be done. I hope that Rob Pelinka has his phone lines ready, burning up. Tony Yayo says he wants to see Scoot in New Orleans and see Zion gone. Oh, we have a phone call. Okay. I got it. T. Swarns is on line 1. I don't know how to pick it up, though, Andy. Andy got it for me. Okay. I did not see you, T. Swarns. What's good? Thank you for checking into RSVP with Jill Munroe. How are you this evening?
All right. Yourself?
I'm amazing. So, give me your hottest sports take for the night.
Hottest sports take? Let me think on that one. I'm actually surprised about myself. Speaking to you about Doc Rivers, me being a long time LA Laker, and him coming from Boston and all that, but
Why are you surprised? You think that they should have kept him on in Philly?
I'm just saying, do you think it was enough seasons for him to, fully develop his relationship with the team and team management? That's what I was getting at with that.
I mean, I actually think that it was, because it's not like Doc is. Let me tell you why. Andy's looking. It's not like Doc is new to this, right? He understands how to get teams up and going quickly. How long did it take for him? I'm going to take it back. To when he was coaching in Orlando, right? I mean, it ended badly, but that didn't take that long, right, for him to pull that together, right, and to do that.
True that.
How long have we had with this Philly team? I know that there's been a couple of iterations of it, but these are vets that were coming in. These aren't guys that need to find their game and understand. They know what their game is. They know who they're playing with. So I think that is kind of giving him a pass that he doesn't necessarily need.
True that. But do you think it was the play calling or the players themselves? It seemed to me that, man, a couple of their key players, Embiid, you know what I'm saying? And the other superstar, man, I mean, they kind of lackluster in the end. They didn't run it all the way out. It's kind of like they gave up.
Not
you
kind
saw it
of.
in their body language.
They did.
You saw it in their game.
I agree with you.
Coach?
But no, I don't think that it's on the coach, and let me tell you why. Once again, because you're also professionals. You have been fighting to get to this point for so long, and now you're here. And that sort of lackluster thing, as far as not really giving your all, I think that there are some personality conflicts that definitely things that went down in Philly.
Right.
I mean, and you can take it all the way back to Ben Simmons. We can talk about that. But
exactly.
For now, we're going to put a pin in this. Thank you, T. Swarns, for calling. We're going to go to break, and when we come forward, we're going to talk a little bit more on this sports tip and wrap it up. And T. Swarns, if you want to hold, we can come back and get a couple more of your comments. Oh, you're gone. It's okay. My bad. I let that go. But it's okay. I'll relay your comments from the chat. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. That's my first call on the show, guys. So join in. You can be next. We can talk about it. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
It's Black Music Appreciation Month, one of my favorite months of the year. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you in part by CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. What's up, SoCal? Here are a few Black Music Month events to help you celebrate. First stop, throughout June, Disneyland is honoring the history of Black music with bands performing hits by Black artists from various decades. Next, catch the screening of Heart and Soul, a love story at the Grammy Museum, June 8th in the museum's theater. And on Juneteenth, that's right, June 17th, join Mayor Karen Bass and Councilwoman Heather Hutt on Jefferson Boulevard for the naming and ribbon cutting ceremony of the New Orleans corridor, followed by a second line parade all the way to the main stage in front of Harold and Bells for a concert celebrating Black music with Terrace Martin and Friends, Irvin Mayfield, 1500 or Nothing, and more. Visit NOLA2LAtickets.org. NOLA2LAtickets.org. Fun fact, President Jimmy Carter established June as Black Music Month in 1979. Here's to 44 years.
The pandemic may be over, but many Angelinos could be at risk of losing the place they call home. It's important to know your rights as a residential renter in the city of LA. Did you know eviction protection still exists for unpaid COVID-19 rental debt that was due before March 31st, 2023? And that you have 5 days to respond to an eviction notice, also known as an unlawful detainer. Learn more about your rental rights at housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Sprinklers in the Rain and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on.
K-Drip. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are checking out KBLA Talk 1580 RSVP with me, Jill Munroe. We just had a scintillating conversation regarding basketball. Shout out to T. Swarns for calling in. And listen, you can call back anytime you want to. We don't just have to have one interaction. That goes for the rest of you that are in there in the chat. I see you peeking through with some comments. 800-920-1580. Tony Yayo, he is very involved in this conversation. He said that Daryl Morey, who is I believe he's the GM of the Sixers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That he got a pass too for how he handled everything as far as the Sixers and their season. He's never won a championship, but the NBA nerds love him as a GM. And you have a point there, but he has put together some very good teams and been creative as far as the money that he's made line up. And so I think that is something that we have to look at. He has managed to put together teams that didn't seem on paper able to come together and made that salary cap work and got those pieces out of there, and they may not have come through to fruition. I don't know who you put that more on, if you put that more on the coaching or the players or everything at the time. We already talked about the injury situation, what have you. I don't know. Houston just seems like they ran out of luck after the Dream and Kenny, left the building. But I think they'll be entertaining this year. We'll have to see what they do tomorrow.
Jill,
and yes.
Can I say this about Doc Rivers?
You absolutely can.
I'm giving him a pass.
You are giving Doc a pass. I kind of give him a pass. Go ahead. Why are you?
I'm giving him a pass simply because, I think T. Swarms kind of alluded to it. I mean, to me, it's more of the players, right? I mean, he took a Clippers team that was in the doldrums of the city of Los Angeles and turned them into contenders. Now, every time they got close, who got injured?
Chris Paul.
Or
Blake Griffin.
It was like we're right here at the pinnacle, but tragedy strikes and boom, it happens. Same thing happened in Philly. See, he made a comment about James Harden, though, after the season. I don't know if a lot of people caught it. And he talked about how challenging it was to coach James Harden. And he felt that if he had James Harden when he was maybe in his first couple of years, James Harden would have been a little bit more receptive to Doc Rivers.
Okay.
So I say all that to say that I don't know if James Harden and Doc Rivers was all on the same page. Everybody else on that team was on the same page, but I don't know about James Harden. I think he had a little bit of his heart wanting to go to Houston.
I mean, probably you probably missed his social life there. We don't have to really talk about that, but we can allude to it. No, really, I also think that there just was personality conflicts. It didn't seem like a team that enjoyed playing with each other. It didn't seem like they liked each other. We know every team doesn't have to socialize off court, and funny enough, most of them do not, as much as people may think that they do, but it didn't seem like they enjoyed playing basketball with each other. It seemed that there was a lot of questioning of the heart of other players. Maybe not outright, but they definitely weren't in sync. And it looked like it at times during the playoffs.
I blame Harden.
You blame Harden?
Yeah.
Harden's partying. I mean, did you see, like, he took that little side trip off during the playoffs to Vegas, and he got caught on camera giving someone, we don't know who it was, a little pop to the face. You know, nothing too much. Might have been jokes. Probably all love, but it happened during the playoffs. We don't know. James Harden is always a source of entertainment. And you know one thing, though, he's going to get to the line. That is what he does, although we see that the rules that they have put in place have started to impact him. I don't know if it's just, obviously we saw him show up in the playoffs, but overall I think his game is kind of going through some changes. He's getting older, so I know that he mentioned he's pulling things back when he's being sort of guided to do so that Embiid could shine, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what kind of trades go down tomorrow. I do want to point out that Chris Middleton, he is a 3-time All-Star forward on the Milwaukee Bucks. He has declined his $40 million player option. Now, we heard Draymond opting out of his $27 million player option with Golden State on Monday. Chris Middleton has had a series of injuries that have plagued him. It's been a couple of years in and out of the playoffs. I know that there was an MCL sprain. I think he sprained or something serious happened with his wrist. So it kind of makes sense because we know that he's a solid player, not really what I would consider a superstar player, although some may argue that he has the potential to have superstar talent. So what I want to know from anyone in the chat that wants to participate, do you think that Chris Middleton is on the other side of his career at this point? Do you think that there is a team out there that he could contribute to? Kamal Allah, in the chat, he said that it is not a Cali thing at all, as far as everyone thinking the teams that they follow are we or us, but you didn't play or work for the team or attend the school. It's not weird. It's not we or us. Well, let me share something with you, Kamal. I worked at Nike.
Kwame. His name's Kwame.
Oh, Kwame.
Yeah.
Apologies, Kwame, because names are important. I want to get that right. When I worked at Nike, one of the projects that I worked on was what? The Los Angeles Lakers and the Clippers. So I actually did maybe not work for the team, but I worked with the team on several projects, worked with the players, did a lot of stuff with Kobe when he first got there. So I think that, once again, I qualify to say we and us, knowing respectfully that is not my actual team, but it is my team. So shout out to you. Just had to let you know that there is a connection there, and I'm going to take it.
I want to piggyback off of that, too, if that's cool with you.
Of course.
I think, like, for example, the Lakers represents the city of Los Angeles, the city that I'm from. So in that case, when we're talking about city, when we're talking about geography or whatnot, I'm going to go ahead and say us and we. But it doesn't have to be all that technical. Simple as that. I
mean, and I feel you with that. Eddie Williams said, up by 16 in the third quarter against Houston, no excuses for Doc. Doc needed to go. You guys can't come out that flat in a game 7. He's talking about the past, right? And it did happen. Again, I have a lot of respect for Doc's coaching. Sometimes I do think he swallows his whistle or his play calling, maybe in the mode of a low-key Phil Jackson in letting the players play. Side note, how disappointing was the back end of Phil Jackson for all of us? He was beloved with the Bulls. We saw what he did with the Showtime Lakers. And then he comes out and he's all with these crazy statements about posses in the game and stuff like that. I preferred Phil when he was just a ganja smoking meditation guy going to Wyoming every year in the off season. That's just a side though. We want to love that. Listen, we have talked a lot about basketball. We have laid it out there. I have some other topics for you coming up that we have to get to. One of the topics is we're going to discuss Tia Mowry and her divorce. Her divorce is finalized. And there is something that happened with this divorce that we usually don't hear in all of the type of cases that we usually discuss. And most people think, well, I'll say a lot of women think that this is a win for women, but I kind of want to know what you guys think. And by guys, I'm talking about the men that are around. There's also the story of Tyreek Hill, who plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. Tyreek is under police. That's right. He's with the Dolphins now. He was with them. Keep up. That's why he was in Miami. Duh. Camp start open. He's under investigation for allegedly hitting a man in the marina on Sunday. And again, we keep kind of going over these blotter files. We know it's the off season, so things happen. But is it time to call for more accountability in how our players are acting when they've been given multiple chances? I'm not going to talk about the first time or the second time, but when they've been kind of starting to develop a reputation for trouble, do you think that trouble is following them, or do you think that they are just not really taking accountability for everything that they have going on? We're also going to discuss a little bit about a new series. Well, it's not new. We're on episode 5 that is coming out this weekend, the most recent episode. It's Killer Relationships with Faith Jenkins. It's a true crime story. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And so really quick on that topic, I am the type of person that I can fall asleep to Law & Order. I will watch 7 episodes of Law & Order, SVU, and all of that. I like true crime stories. I like crime thrillers. But a recent study has said if you are the type of person that can fall asleep to these type of things, you might have some homicidal tendencies. I don't believe that I do, because I'm not watching anything crazy, like no scary movies, nothing with no Friday the 13th, no Halloween, no Saw, anything like that. But a nice little Law & Order to lull you into lullaby land. I think that is amazing. So we'll talk a bit more about Deadly Desire when we come forward. Stick and stay. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Why does it feel so bad? Make me feel so sad inside. It is love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Julius White. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Search efforts for the missing vessel used to explore the Titanic are intensifying. Retired Navy submarine Captain Brad McDonald says the less than 24 hours